We'll see you guys later. Catch you on the other end of this match here as we're about to head into the action. And I gotta say, Josh, I was saying to you as well as we were watching the pre-show, how much I was like, okay, so I predicted with my pick'ems, by the way, pick'ems.overwatchleague.com. You can sign up there. There you go. It was one plug for the day.
Great plug.
Get another one later. There you go. I predicted Houston for this one, but I'm thinking I can feel something in the air. I don't know what it is, but I'm feeling like London could come out swinging for this one.
Well, I know I hate to fall into the trope of the British boy defending the British team, but now that the London Spitfire actually does have hybrid on it, I feel compelled to go and defend them. I think though that Custer hit on something towards the end of that desk segment, right? With Dante not in the starting lineup here today and not being able to be fielded for their match, it does create a hole. KSF, we saw him be pretty shaky when it came to his Havana performance, so if that continues, that opens the door on rush compositions. And also, they don't have that Tracer, and Shaxx is a ridiculous Tracer that needs somebody like Dante to keep him in check. So I actually do think there's pretty decent chance of an upset happening here today. It would still be an upset, but it's possible.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's take a look at the Houston starters as well heading into this match here. And they are going to be running, obviously, KSF and Happy as the DPS duo. Of course, Django and Piggy, who we've been just bigging up the entire time, essentially in every single match that we've seen, it feels like, as well. We've just been singing these guys' praises. But again, it's that big question mark as well, because when KSF was in against the Paris Eternal, Houston Outlaws did look worse off about it. And I think if you're going up against the London Spitfire, a team with a much better, I think, rush composition in terms of how they play it, comparatively to Paris as well, there's some... I think there's a real risk here of what should have been, you know, possibly a very easy game for the Houston Outlaws is now going to be made that much harder. And as you can see here, the Houston Outlaws tweeted, obviously, that Dante will be ill for today's match. Obviously, we're all wishing him a speedy recovery as well, heading into this one. And yeah, it's going to be difficult because you look at the London starters as well as we head over to this team here, a team with a lot to prove, I think, as well. And they've got off to a bit of a rough start of things, but definitely more than capable of bringing a real solid fight, I think, to a team like Houston.
Yeah, I think the London Spitfire had a couple of those first match nerves coming into that game. Underperformed a little bit, but they came in with some nice ideas, and they were competent in their showing against the Los Angeles Gladiators. So I really do feel like this team is going to showcase more than we've seen from them so far this year. There definitely are still questions about them flexing onto other compositions, which ones they actually look excellent at, sure. But I think that there are going to be openings and opportunities in this game to at least steal maps. And at the end of the day, man, every single match and even every map does end up mattering in this format. Because you can get into a system where you are like attempting to fight into the qualifiers, the knockouts for the main melee. And we're going to be in a kind of situation where there's going to be a bunch of teams that are 2-2, that are 3-1, that are maybe 1-3, and are trying to squeak into that 6th place spot. Map differential is going to be important at some point here. I really do think that it's possible. Yeah,
well,
I mean, we always used to say
it. We always used to say it, and it was always like, wow, the 4-map series, 40 matches in a season. But now, because obviously we've just condensed it all down, there's less matches overall, each match really does matter that much more. And these teams, these players, they've got to be playing for it.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine we used to play 40 matches each team? I mean, that is incredible compared to what we're doing this season. It's really focused down. Every match is of much higher importance. And the Houston Outlaws have been off to a fantastic start so far. Week 1, they're on the verge of being perfect. And if they manage to go 4-0 here, if they win this game against the London Spitfire, they are through to our knockout stage of the May Melee. They'll be the first team in the North American region to lock in a spot. And at the moment, it looks like they absolutely deserve it.
Yeah, they're playing out of their minds, but it's not over just yet, obviously. One more match against the London Spitfire here. And London are a team that are 0-1. They're going to be looking for opportunities as well to battle back and, you know, maybe correct some of that early scoreline as well. In the series,
I gotta say,
the teleporters come through. Yeah, go ahead.
I was not expecting this to be a rush mirror coming out on this match. I mean, on this map, rather. I know that it looks like it based on Hybrid and Blase being fielded by the London Spitfire, but this isn't an arena where we've often seen this from our teams in the Overwatch League so far. But both of these teams are very willing to go toe-to-toe. Big difference here being Molfig over on the Sigma, something that Piggy's been playing quite a lot of, actually, over on Houston.
Yeah, we'll see how these teams tackle it, and as well as the control point gets unlocked here, both teams are going to be dropping down and fighting and contesting over this point. Happy, he looks like he's trying to hunt for an off angle, potentially looking for a flank timing. And he's going off onto the side here, a lot of damage being done. He might be able to just pick off a player or two, and now the engage goes through as the wall goes up. KSF just trying to freeze them all down with that cleave. Jangu, look at that, the damage being done. Just wrecking the opposition. The London Spitfire going to be having to disengage from this one. Still, as the fight goes on, another great ice wall. Amp Matrix being committed by London here, as they thought it was turnable, but they've lost far too many players now. They have to be backing off and rethinking this.
So far, KSF's walls have been pretty good. The one to initiate was excellent. They managed to isolate a pick. And then afterwards, that secondary Mei wall that he put down blocked Ripper's Amp Matrix. Bit of a weird situation, because Ripper almost intentionally Amp Matrixed into the ice wall, which is a very strange situation. Isn't going to help London Spitfire recontest. But nevertheless, so far so good for KSF, who self-admittedly didn't perform that well on Havana yesterday. He tweeted about it after his performance on Mei when he got subbed in, and he said he was tweaking out on Havana. My fault.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. He recognizes the mistakes. I don't know about the language, but the Deadeye comes through Happy on the side. Gravitic Flux is going to be lifting him up. Straight back down again into the Immortality Field, and that's going to be comboed with the Earth Shatter. Perfect timing, though, from Juby, as he's going to be counteracting it with the Sound Barrier, keeping his team alive. Both support ults from Houston being committed, and they win the team fight overall, despite the fact that the London looked like they got a much better engagement off with those tank ults.
And Houston are now going to be in such a dominant position. They have control of the objective. The London Spitfire, when they're trying to re-push back in, yeah, they're going to have faster access to a bunch of big ultimates. But when it comes down to control, being in the correct position is 90% of the game, it feels like. You can control the tempo when you're in the Houston Outlaws position. And they have a good track on where Kellex and Ripper are at with their ults. Hybrid's going to pop a Deadeye. That forces the positioning, but Crimzo can't get away quickly enough.
Yep, caught out of position. Losing your Batiste player is kind of brutal, actually. You're going to be lacking a lot of heals into this fight. Juby going down as well. No more supports for Houston. Just going to throw bodies at the point to try and get it over to 99%, but ultimately, the London Spitfire will be the ones converting this one. And they're going to be playing aggressive here. If they can get any more extra kills, which it looks like they're committing ults to do, they want to be playing very hard and fast and aggressive. Just taking out any more players that are left straggling around here. But it's very difficult for them to try and overcome this now. Still, Houston now coming back into this. They don't have any support ults left coming up, Josh, but they do have a couple of tank ultimates to work with.
They do, but those are really hard to try and convert onto. Jangu closing the gap and trying to land a large Earth Shatter. I mean, we've seen incredible Earth Shatters come out of Jangu, but he would have to work some magic again here.
Deadeye up close. That's going to be stunned out of it. To the Blizzard as well, just trying to lock up these players. Self-destruct up into the sky, takes out the Immortality Field. Now going to be swinging into them, but Crimzo just laying down the consistent damage. The Shatter comes out from Jangu, but not finding any targets. Hadi holding the shield and now backing off. London Spitfire don't want to be taking this fight up close. They've lost way too many players. They're going to let the point go over to them. Is anyone going to be able to contest this? KSF laid down the ice wall. They're just about not quite booped away. Juby with the last minute touch, or may have been also the boosters as well playing in part from Piggy, just keeping them away from that point, but round one going to the Houston Outlaws.
Yeah, that feels like a pretty significant error from the London Spitfire towards the end of that fight. They invested Blaze's Blizzard and got aggressive into the Houston Outlaws, but Blaze overstepped and ended up getting picked, and at the moment, playing against his former team here of the Houston Outlaws, Blaze kind of getting May-diffed by KSF, it was an area that we were having concerns about with Houston. With Dante not being in the lineup, can KSF step up? At the moment, looking like it, outpacing the May on the other side. But London again there as well, not being able to recontest the objective, not really thinking about that. Perhaps some early season nerves getting to London again here. And Happy's going to play the Hanzo.
Yeah, Happy on the Hanzo. And Hybrid actually going to be sticking with the Symmetra. We've seen Houston actually been playing around a lot of this Symmetra rush composition. They've been using these teleporters in very creative ways to try and essentially make the tanks think about every single action. Already these teams are going to be brawling into one another. And the Immortality Field comes out from London. Molfig just trying to put in a lot of that consistent damage just around the corner, but not enough to overcome here. Now they're going to be swinging into them. The grasp by Molfig is going to be eating up the Fire Strike. Just enough health, but probably not for much longer as he's being chased down through the corridors. Another early team fight win here for Houston. And to be fair, I mean, the Houston Outlaws, they played a lot against these Sims and with the Sim. They're going to know exactly how the weaknesses of that comp really lie.
Definitely. And I saw a lot of community consensus after the previous London match that Hybrid wasn't really having the most impact possible. As the UK boy on the London Spitfire, this is his time to step up. We've seen what Happy does when he has control of Symmetra in this composition. You can output ridiculous amounts of damage.
You can see the Amp Matrix again. Going to be negated there by the Ice Wall, but eventually goes down. Houston's still in control at this point. Amp Matrix is also going to fade on the Houston side of things. Eventually, Gravitic Flux catching onto a lot of targets. Immortality Field connects, but Crimson just outside of it. Not going to be a kill onto him, but Django caught out of position. Still, counteracted. Piggy trying to turn it around for the rest of his team. From the high ground, the Dragon from behind! Happy cutting them up from the high ground. And they were not expecting that in the slightest. It was perfectly timed with Piggy's Gravitic Flux. The Immortality Field was not there. It was used prior. And that has just turned that fight around when it was looking disastrous with Django getting picked off.
What an amazing clutch by Happy. Don't apologize, mate. He puts the sorry spray down on the floor. No one's gonna be accepting that apology from London Spitfire. You've just ripped their chances away in this round.
And now Django with another shatter. We've seen some magic from this guy before. See if he's capable of doing it again. The wall goes up. He's being pressured so heavily. Forced to drop down. And that's going to be a free shatter now for Hardy as he lets it rip. The opposition, Houston, have to back off here. Happy fell early on. And they're going to let them take over control of the point, the objective, and have a bit of positioning advantage now as they're walking into this next fight. But Houston are just going to be waiting for Happy to get back online, and now the recontest comes through. Happy
he comes out
on
Doomfist. Yeah, Doomfist to try and counter Hybrid, to try and turn up the pace a little bit already. And going straight onto Molfig, seeing whether they can get the D-Mech. There was a shatter through there that I think only caught onto Hybrid, and in the midst of the sound barriers being exchanged, Django's found himself pinning the London Spitfire back in this corridor.
And it's such a dangerous position to play in if you're London. Close quarters against Happy's Doomfist. You're just walking straight into him, man. It's the worst positioning you could play against, but they were corralled into that corner by the Houston Outlaws' aggression, forced into it, straight into the trap. And the Houston Outlaws now winning that team fight. 95% is going to be the timer now. Will anyone even be able to contest this? Hardy moving over to the wrecking ball to try and touch this, but he's probably going to get pushed off here. And indeed he does. The Houston Outlaws taking map number 1 in a clean fashion indeed.
No Dante, no problem. Houston Outlaws with an easy map 1 there. They didn't really look that pushed, to be honest. And my word, Happy is just looking like a freak. On this team, he has elevated his level because he's not just a Widowmaker specialist or someone who comes in and looks nutty on hit scan. He's able to play so many different roles for this team, stretching to the Hanzo, the Doomfist, the Symmetra, plus all of the hit scan that he needs to play, like the McCree, the Tracer, and the Widowmaker as well. And everything he's played so far, he's had huge impact on. The Houston Outlaws have built this team around his DPS talents, and they're making him shine like he hasn't shone before. We always knew this guy was talented, but we thought of him more as being a specialist rather than a generalist. And Houston here is making him look like looking like an absolute warrior out there.
Yeah. All the credit to the support structure as well behind them, of course, the coaching staff of the Houston Outlaws. These guys have been really, really showing up, I think, as well. And we're going to be going to a quick break as well, ladies and gentlemen. On the other side of it, the series will be continuing, of course. Don't go anywhere. You don't want to miss out.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile. And by Indeed. We help people get jobs. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League, and by IBM, the official cloud and AI partner of the Overwatch League.
That's right, this season we want to see your fan artwork and showcase it on our digital fan art gallery. So continue to submit your Overwatch League inspired works for a chance to be featured each and every week. We want to see all your artwork, and I'm sure you can do a better job than Matt as well. We keep featuring his piece. Just
terrible.
an atrocious mess. I'm sure you can all do better. So submit them. We want to see them. We want to show them.
And if they're as bad as Carl, they won't get shown.
Is that what it's named, Carl?
Carl, yeah. Don't know why.
Yeah. Well, there you go. And now into our power rankings of IBM Watson. We got Happy actually reaching into the top 4 here. This guy, I mean, we've been singing his praises in map 1. We saw some big moments, and he really has just been elevated ever since he's been on this team. I think a lot of us had some, a bit of concern. I think this guy, we always knew he was talented, but it really does feel like that the Houston Outlaws is bringing the very best out of him.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying, man. Happy was always an excellent talent, but they've just drawn more and more out of him, and they've put him in a position to succeed. And that's what a good team does. I'll tell you what else here as well. I can see a familiar face there, talking about people from the broadcast with potentially terrible drawing skills. I don't know whether Jake can draw anything better than Mr. X can, but he can definitely play the game better than Mr. X can. And that's why he's subbing in for Juby here as well. This, to me, is going to be exciting, right? Because we're moving on to Watchpoint Gibraltar. We've got Shaxx in for Blase, right? So we've got Tracer on one side, a bit of a Tracer gap on the other because Dante isn't available for the Houston Outlaws, but we've got Jake in to kind of support that backline and help direct them from the back. I don't know whether anyone remembers the few times that we hopped into their comms. He was very vocal in terms of keeping everybody on the same page, directing the energy and the flow, and making sure that everyone was focused in between rounds.
And typically when we see Jake being played, I think it means that pretty much only going to be seeing him play Brigitte, and that's what obviously Houston are confident on. And obviously we're going into Gibraltar as well. This map is just almost synonymous when it comes to these compositions revolving around the dive, and that's where we've been seeing a lot of Brig as well with these Winston and Ball compositions. And
the desk was saying, Brad,
Go ahead.
Desk was saying that the Houston Outlaws, or Jonathan was saying more specifically, that he was going to give this map to the London Spitfire on the basis of Shaxx being able to play the Tracer and Dante not being available today. But I think Custer also brought up a reasonable point that we don't know where the London Spitfire are really at when it comes to this double bubble composition. We've really seen them play a lot more different comps. It's not that we've only seen them play Rush, that would be wrong to say, but we haven't exactly seen where their double bubble is truly at. And so there still remains a bit of a question mark here in terms of how Hadi and Molfig will work really well together, how the synergy looks between Hadi and Shaxx. A lot of those questions are going to be answered here on Gibraltar.
Absolutely, yeah. And I was expecting, honestly, I mean, we could be anticipating something different, but I was wondering, are we going to be seeing Happy maybe trying to match the Tracer a little bit here?
Sure.
But it seems like KSF will be playing it, and Happy obviously on the Widowmaker, a role that he's really well known for. Bionade comes out. London not really reacting. The TP is going to be going onto the far side here. Hardy actually slept up as well onto the TP, so they've all taken the high ground position. The bubble eventually goes down and can be blocking damage, but London have gained the high ground control, and now they're going to start trying to fight over the Houston Outlaws for it. Another huge Bionade from Crimzo, back to back, connects onto the support line, and it just weakens them all for Houston Outlaws to chew them up.
That was an amazing Bionade coming out from Crimzo. Also, the sleep onto Hadi at the beginning just allows Houston more time to consider how they want to approach it and rotate around. Happy, though, is playing Widowmaker with 175 HP here against a Tracer and a Winston. So he has to be so careful in terms of how he takes these positions. We've seen what Happy can do, though. His aim is, there is no question about it. He's one of the most talented Widowmakers we have in the league. But it's all about safety here. If they give London Spitfire too much space, Happy's going to find himself with a wall at his back and too little health to be able to do anything.
Yeah, he's absolutely playing cautiously, as you can see, all the way back. Hybrid going down early, and that's a headshot onto Shaxx as he was contesting the cart. And it's double threat, I think, as well, because typically it's Shaxx's job to contest the cart and get a lot of free push in. But when you have Happy as well, he knows he can play up here because the teams are pushed back. But he's playing back behind his team, and he's just this another layer of as issues. I mean, I feel like I've cast a curse at him there a little bit when I was bigging him up, but he does provide that extra layer of comfort, I think, for KSF to be playing the Tracer still. He's taken down early in this fight now.
He's taken down completely. That's a great deny on Hadi, though.
Wow.
Jangu falls, overstepping his boundaries just a little bit without a nano boost on him, and no time to pop that Primal Rage. And Hadi just uses the very tail end of the nano boost to be able to get some space inside of server room. But Jake has been nano boosted. With Jangu down, they decide to invest in Jake.
Yeah, a bit of miscommunication there, as Piggy thought that the team was committing. The Grav ended up getting committed, and Piggy was the only one who could put damage out into it. Jake actually dropped down because he was being pressured.
I mean, I assume the nano was intended for Piggy, right? Rather than Jake. That would be the more normal thing to do if your Winston is down. Perhaps they're a bit of a mistake coming out from Crimson, or maybe they just really wanted the nano break to be swinging through the Grav. That would be a new one. London have been kind of gifted this.
Let's see what they can do here.
Happy.
Yeah, they're pushing up onto the high ground once again. They need to take care of Hadi, but he has the Primal Rage, so he is safe right now on the rafters. Still, Jangu going to be contesting the cart just on this close corner. Now the engage comes through, backing off just for a moment, forcing out the bubble. The rest of this team is going to gain a little bit more positioning. They forced out the Primal Rage as the rest of the London Spitfire are rotating up to the high ground here. Houston have been pushed off. What a stick! Shaxx finds it onto Jake. Not going to be denied that one. And with these pickoffs, the London Spitfire sailing it through checkpoint A.
Yeah, great work from them. 3.5 minutes to be able to take checkpoint B, and they don't have their Tracer, so you're going to continue to get this high ground positioning, apply a lot of pressure to these guys that go forward spawn. That's so unfortunate from Jake and Happy. Didn't even realize there for a moment, but that is devastating. London now have all of the positioning they need. Wait a second though, how on earth does Ripper go down in the middle of that?
I'm really not sure. I think maybe they were trying to take positioning in the shuttle, and Crimson found the kill. Yeah, sniped him from that power position right there in the top right, but it's a difficult ask, and now the high ground is going to be contested. I mean, that's a huge kill. It means that London are having a difficult time holding the top of this shuttle. Typically, they'd love to be onto this high ground, especially with the early advantages they've got. But now it's traded positionings, and Houston have their time to shine. I mean, they can choose when to engage from this position.
Hadi's pretty stuck here. He has to go back and connect within line of sight to Reaper. And this has slowed down London massively. Just that single engage. Look at that.
Another massive bio. Crimson has been so massive so far. And the nano boost is going to be applied to Jangu as well. Right in close quarters, the Grav is going to be used here onto Jangu. Jangu has faith in the rest of his team to try and keep him alive. KSF just going to be coming from the back as well with the pulse bomb. And he's going to be cleaning this up as a brawl inside these tight corridors. It's so difficult to tell what's going on, but ultimately it is the Houston Outlaws who are the ones who are coming out on top. Hadi ends up using his Primal Rage, and a big Bionade did connect onto Jake there to bring him low enough for him to finish off. The fight may be getting turned here as the London Spitfire finding their advantage and footing.
It looks like it, at least a little bit, but Hadi is determined to try and make the best out of this nano boost. He's overstepped himself. Can he escape here? Kind of stuck up in this top room, but nobody's able to deal with Shaxx. Shaxx has been on a tear. The scrappier this fight got, the more the Danish Tracer was able to just get away with murder.
He's still contesting this cart, eventually going to get healed up here. The 1v1 versus KSF is what he's been trying to win, but obviously the Houston Outlaws should pressure him as well from on high. Now the fight continues. Grab's going to be used early as the rally is used. Houston want to be moving forward with this one, and they have such a massive health point advantage here. With the rally armor being applied as well, it means they can take a way better fight. Committing 2 ultimates in the process, but luckily they stopped before it just got a little bit more messy.
And honestly, messy is the right word to describe this entire point B push. This has been 2.5 minutes of London trying to fight for the high ground. and after Reaper died, and then they had that strange engagement in the right side room. This is the first time that London has properly reset, taken a deep breath, assessed the situation, and is going to be able to go back in. Oh my word. Shaxx just got essentially one clip there, I think, by KSF. That is not how we're expecting that Tracer engagement to go.
Deadeye from on high here as well, Josh. The bubble's going to get applied, but they're being caught up into the corner. Houston with great ult rotations, keeping London Spitfire locked away here. I don't know how that sleep connected as well. Hybrid was right around the corner. Shaxx goes down again!
Shaxx does have an extremely aggressive play style. We've seen it last year on the Los Angeles Valiant, but this time...
No.
Wow, it's all falling to pieces for London.
Yeah, Hardy going down. No Primal Rage. You can see Django just trying to contest this now here. Final fight territory for them. Nano Boost going to be applied to Hybrid as he's trying to deal a lot of consistent damage. KSF just trying to take out Molfik, who's just holding onto this card. The London Spitfire with an advantage in this fight. They've got their players back into it. Shaxx needs to come up huge now. Trying to win out this 1v1 against KSF. Has to back off momentarily and find safety within that health pack. Still pushing them away from the high ground. Hardy now coming back in with the Primal. You can see the Deadeye also from Hybrid just used to clear them off. It's going to be the kill onto KSF. The overtime push continues.
We've got Happy on the other side, up on the high ground here, seeing if he can get a pick onto Hybrid. Molfik's also playing around the payload. Shaxx gets caught again, almost by the Deadeye and then by the flashbang. Hattie's trying to do his best to follow up on Molfik's grab there, but even though Kellex has a rally, it's all going to fall to pieces. The Houston Outlaws have got superior positions, better ultimates, more health. Hybrid does what he can, but this is all but over for the London Spitfire.
Yep, the card pressure's gone, and that's going to be an early stop. Let's take a listen in the Houston Outlaws comms.
Like, we didn't... It's not perfect right here. We have to play well. Let's keep this snowball going.
Good fucking packs.
Honestly, he's dealt that. I'm packing it so much.
Yeah, I know you are.
I'm like, dude, I'm just like making him have no gain.
Yeah.
But keep it up. Like you're using it, actually, because you could just... Yeah, you still have to frag him.
Bro, I almost fucking actually dominated him on first point.
That's
Yo, we'll cut that off. We'll cut it off. We'll save your career. We'll save your career. Yeah.
I mean, they're talking about the Tracer duel, though. They're specifically talking about the Tracer duel. And you can hear how Jake has an impact in the communication structure, right? Towards the end of the rounds, he's the guy that's jumping in on the comms and saying, all right, let's keep this going, keeping everybody focused. But more importantly as well, this speaks to the narrative that we're seeing in this Tracer battle, where Shaxx historically has been a much better Tracer than somebody like KSF, who isn't known for it in the slightest. But there's no coordination with Shaxx. He doesn't have support from his backline. He's not playing within line of sight. He's not coordinated with Hadi either. So he's just trying to do too much with too little support. Whereas on KSF's side, he's playing it very intelligently. He's taking constant armor packs from Jake. He's trying to play defensively and just shut Shaxx down. And unfortunately, this Tracer superstar has done essentially nothing here for the London Spitfire.
And I think that's a big part of it. The game plan coming in from the Houston Outlaws, obviously recognizing that, okay, Shaxx, very formidable Tracer player. We're going to invest all our resources into KSF, like you were saying, Josh, you know, the armor packs and everything. Just constantly playing with the rest of his team. It's been a real difference maker for them. You can see them trying to go in for the one clip there. Shaxx almost getting a lot of work done. But Jake just body blocking as well for Happy, making sure that he's safe and he can take these aggressive off angles now.
Yeah, I love this synergy. Yeah, it's great. We've seen this in previous seasons too, whenever Widowmaker is meta on Gibraltar. That's another Bionade, Bren, coming out from Crimzo, catching Kellex and Reaper in the back line. And even though Shaxx responds with some magic of his own to take down Crimzo, these set plays are so much better from Houston. It's requiring individual prowess from London to keep them even with their heads above the water.
They're okay for the time being, but now the Houston players are back up. Going to be trying to recontest. They push them away as well. London backing off to the server room here. Just going to be biding their time. Houston obviously going to be building up this nano boost very quickly, and that's going to be probably the go button for them. Crimzo so close to it. Django just going to be poking, looking for information now around the car, and the counter dive comes in as well as he's going to be trying to lock off London Spitfire, preventing them from really following up on a lot of the space from Hardy. As the nano boost is traded out. Great boop though. That's going to be negating this nano boost from Django as he used his jump. but still, it matters not when Happy is on the battlefield. A quick little headshot onto Shaxx means that the advantage is going to be swinging towards the Houston Outlaws. Django, with great presence of mind, recognizes that flank was coming through, and now he's going to be trying to shut down Hybrid. The Deadeye going to be committed. Very, very low. Not going to be in the bubble any longer, but caught out onto the card as Happy takes him out.
What a fantastic series of plays from the Houston Outlaws. They are wrapping up this checkpoint 8 push as long as they can deal with Hardy, who looks like he's going to go down. Happy's really struggling to do damage through that shield. This is where the Widowmaker isn't as good as you would like it to be. He would be having so much more success there on the McCree, and he's opened up an opportunity for Shaxx to carry. Takes down that pulse bomb onto Jake, finishes off Django, and as KSF responds, it's a little too late. Houston would have been in full control of that, but they just couldn't find enough damage to finish off the Winston.
And it was a scrappy fight, and despite Houston getting that early advantage, obviously, again, the closer spawns are for London. So the longer that fight gets drawn out, the better it's going to look for them. They're going to be getting players back into the action much quicker than Houston. Houston going to be going for another team fight now here, so they're going to be leading with the Impa side as well. Just going to be giving them a lot of info to work with. And now the dive attempt. Coordination straight into the backline here to grab. But a counter grab from Molfig. Huge Bionade as well to counteract this one. And the players from Houston falling so low.
Yeah, that's a great play from Ripper too. And there's so much more damage that you can follow up on. I'm starting to be concerned about this Happy Widowmaker. I will say, the only downside to watching Happy in the APAC region last year was that he would overstay his welcome on Widow. When there were times where he should be swapping over to the Hanzo, even to the McCree, he would try and force this Widow. It's not a flaw that we've seen actually come true in the North American region so far this year. But it's starting to happen here, I feel. London are being completely in control of the tempo. They're not getting challenged at any point.
Ooh, the card's being pressured here. They got so close, 0.3, they capped it! Right from under their noses. I was about to sing the praises of the London Spitfire about how they were taking aggressive fights right in the choke points. But Houston, they recognized this. They ended up committing so many players onto the point that they were forced back, and it pulled London backwards as well. Holy moly. Django with the Primal Rage as well, pushing them backwards off the cart. Too little, too late, Josh.
And not just pushing them backwards too, he managed to secure the kill onto Shaxx, and it's normally your Tracer who's going to be contesting that objective, so everything gets a bit sticky as soon as Shaxx falls. Really well played by Houston, actually, and Happy cleans up a bunch of kills towards the end of the fight. Pops his Infrasight, now he's in a pretty powerful position, actually. That Bionade! Oh, that could have been huge, actually, but never mind. Hattie's bubble was in the way if he hadn't missed.
Crimson just missing that one ever so slightly. The Nano Boost applied as well, but this is so important right now. Houston have all the positioning over London. They're forced to walk straight into them, into the choke point! KSF! What is that? Caught against the walls? I believe that was 3 kills, 4 kills. It doesn't matter, because the Houston Outlaws are going to be taking that map away in the blink of an eye. And Jake at the end of the chat there saying, KSF God, you guys don't get to see it, but I'll say it for you. And I got to agree. I mean, he was turning up. He was really, so many questions were arising. Obviously, with Dante being out, how well were the Houston Outlaws going to be performing with KSF playing in? He didn't have a great series against Paris, but here, he has been turning up big time.
He shines because of this fantastic team play of Houston too. It's the defensive way in which they play, trying to react to what their opponents are doing. Shaxx went in deep into the backline, again, not really well coordinated. Jake bashed him, setting up KSF for an easy kill on his Tracer counterpart, and then without a player that he has to mark, he goes in, hits the stick, lands a 3K. It's so smart the way that KSF's playing this. For a player that doesn't play Tracer, to be able to shut down Shaxx so comprehensively, him and Jake working together, perfection throughout Watchpoint Gibraltar, and silencing the doubts that we had with Dante not being fielded today.
You can see the importance as well. I mean, the London Spitfire just struggling there as well. They had maybe an opportunity, but the way the team fights worked out, they had one chance to try and push them off. And we're going to see if they can do their best to reverse sweep this series now. We're going to be heading to a short break, ladies and gentlemen, but do not go anywhere. You don't want to miss it.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez-It Grooves. So much flavor, it's a mind crunch. And by TeamSpeak, the official voice supplier of the Overwatch League.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, your eyes do not deceive you. Jacob Lyons is going to be locking in the DPS now for the Houston Outlaws here as we're heading into our third map of the series.
So
and yeah, Juby back in for Jake, and obviously Jake back in for KSF. There's a couple of things that are just, you know, popping up in my mind as to why this might be happening, but here's our Indeed player resume for Jake, as you can see. I mean, the guy, I think Mitch said it all, you know, he's a good caster, he's attractive, he's a great pro player. What can he do? Well, here's some of his accomplishments as well. 2019 Stage 1 playoffs, a long time ago. That was some of the best performances that he has had on the Houston Outlaws. He's going to be looking to turn that around.
Yeah, it says here as well, the only player to retire, become talent, and return to battle. I suppose that's excluding Reinforce's flirtation with the Swedish World Cup team, actually. Because he did attempt to do that, but that's not Overwatch League, right? That isn't the absolute best in the world. That's what's crazy about Jake, is he took a year off, and he can return and still compete with these guys that are actually the best in the world. And mainly on the silly heroes. Okay, Brigitte might not be a silly hero so much as just one where his coordination and communication skills can really shine, and leadership aspects. But I have a feeling, Bren, we are going to be in silly hero territory for here on out. I think we're getting the Junkrat here on Hanamura. Are we going to get... Oh, I would just love it to see a little bit of the rat return.
Yep, a bit of the Jake rat, you know. It's not quite 4 a.m. Well, it's 4 a.m. somewhere, I'm sure. Well,
it's
actually,
always 4 a.m. somewhere.
It'll be 3:42 somewhere, currently. I think if my clock isn't wrong. At some point, I don't know. But at some point during this match, it may be 4 a.m. And at that point, maybe Jake will get a couple of kills. Still, what I want to point out, aside from all the fun and games of this, is that there is a real risk here that Houston may be just showing their hand overwhelmingly early. And it's an opportunity for London to capitalize off the back of this. Now, Jake has not shied away from the fact that he likes to rattle, you know, the opposition in game chat. He likes to talk, you know, the business. I could use some stronger language to describe some of the stuff that Jake puts in the chat. I'm not going to. That would ruin a lot of his image. But he does like to rattle the enemy team a little bit. But if London are the kind of team where they're going to be keeping their mental here, they're not going to get boomed, and they know what to expect in this match, there's a real opportunity for London to start to accrue a bit of a comeback based off of the hubris of Houston.
But that's what it comes down to. If Houston are able to win here, they lock up their knockout position in the May Melee, right? They're in a great position to be able to just seal the deal here on Hanamura. And as a famous young man once said, it is only hubris if I fail. And that's what the Houston Outlaws are going to be saying to themselves here. If Jake's able to pull it off, and why wouldn't he be able to? The guy's one of the premier Junkrat players that we have in the league. He's going to be swapping over to the May here on offense. And this is where the question marks are, I suppose, is can he play the May? Something that's going to be the kind of bread and butter of these compositions, playing against the London Spitfire.
TP as well from Happy here, straight to point!
Destroyed.
They were ready and waiting for it. The ice wall went up immediately. And look at this, London going to be just shredding through Houston. And already this narrative that we've been forming, you know, it's kind of getting a little bit iffy there, because that was very, very orchestrated. London knew exactly what they were attempting.
Yeah, London have been forged in the fire of playing Rush on Hanamura since the dawn of time. They know all of your little tricks. They're from Europe, they're a winning team, they know how to win, they know how to play both Rush and against Rush. So this is going to be a challenge for the Houston Outlaws, especially the Symmetra tricks. But there's a lot of different things you can do with the Sim. Hybrid goes for the flash, flash to the shadow! That's an incredible play! Again, the anticipation of the London Spitfire yields incredible results.
I mean, yeah, that is the kind of coordination that it takes a bit to get going, but they knew that there was a moment of weakness. The TP noise was going to give them the window they needed for Hybrid to come in with the flashbang, and of course, the Django's not going to be ready for it. You can point your shield upwards to block that, but of course he's not going to be ready for this one. And now the Houston Outlaws are wondering, okay, how are we actually going to be approaching this one? This time they're going to be TPing up to the rafters here and taking it quite slow.
Here we go.
They're actually crouching. They're crouching so they're not revealing their positioning. And right now, Kellex, I think, might just get a read on them as well. Kellex is currently looking for any sort of positioning they might have.
Here they come, up around the top. Happy's taken so much damage, and Kellex finishes him off. Happy caught a Fire Strike and a bunch of damage there from Kellex, and just gets whacked before he can even begin the fight. That's all of the damage from Houston that has been taken out already.
Yeah, Happy's going to be coming back for the respawns. Houston don't want to give up this positioning, but look at the aggressive now approach. As London going to be using a lot of ultimates into this fight. Django goes down, the accretion on the Jake takes him out, and Blizzard is committed to no avail. Houston desperately trying to turn this one around. Reaper and Blase are gone.
They're turning this, Brett.
They're trying to turn this one, but the team, look at this. Piggy goes down. Crimzo off on the side here. Actually finds it. Juby almost getting that kill as well into Kellex, and they have turned it.
That's incredible that the Houston Outlaws were able to turn that one around. I love the aggression coming out from London. With Happy dead, it all but seemed over. And Houston, with the investment of the Blizzard and how it isolated certain players away from others, were just able to take a bunch of advantageous fights despite being down a man. How on earth did that happen? Gonna have to look at that one in a replay. Jake flirting with Doomfist, moves back over to the Mei, and Houston have 4 minutes in the time bank after essentially just being stuffed repeatedly on Hanamura A.
Yeah, they were finding it hard to get through. Here's this replay as well from Crimzo. He was actually taking a bit of an off-angle position, and it was looking disastrous for them, but just a couple of quick shots. Crimzo find Molfig in this fight. That was how that one happened. Blizzard was committed now in this fight here by London, but Django not going to be falling, holds the shield up as well. A lot in the way as the Shatter comes out from Hadi. The counter Shatter! What is that? Oh my goodness! The Samurai comes out just a little bit too late. The damage is already done. Hadi so low. Django with the charge across the map. This is a snowball in action right now, Josh.
We have a word for that in Overwatch Esports. It's MTD, the main tank difference coming through right there. Django just blocks Hadi's Shatter and comes around with a huge one of his own. Both rookie Reinhardts coming into this year's league. And wow, what a play from Django. I mean, that is just absurd. It's the same kind of stuff, though. Django keeps pulling that stuff out again and again and again. He's had the best Earth Shatters out of any player that we've seen so far in the Overwatch League. Little rookie Earth Shatter god. It's insane.
But the instant reaction as well from Crimzo to lay down the Am Matrix so they could actually follow up on the Shatter as well.
Oh,
it's the little details. You can hit a Shatter like that, but most times teams aren't going to be able to capitalize off the back of it. But with the Am Matrix down, you got more than enough damage. You can send a Fire Strike through the window.
Aggressive Immortality Field as well, Brent.
Yeah,
Crimzo throws his Immortality Field deep into enemy territory so that Django can overextend, essentially, and clean up those kills. Without the Immortality Field, he might end up getting punished from that. It's the level of coordination is huge for Houston to be able to capitalize, but man, I just can't help but be sold by the romance of Django just coming into the league and giving the business to every Reinhardt he comes up against.
Yeah, Django has been having such a great performance overall. Let's take a look at that Shatter again as the players are setting up. Blocks the Shatter. I believe he was assisted by Figgy as well. Right around the corner, little B-hop as well. God, he is a monster. And a Soundbite just a little bit too late. That is beautiful to rewatch. And these players are raring to go now as the gates are going to be opening. Jake actually onto the Doomfist, so I was wondering what he was going to switch to here. He's moving over to the Doom to get back to the point.
I thought the Junkrat would be a good counter to running the Symmetra here, but instead we're going to see the Doom. Whoa, that rock was coming pretty fast and thick towards them. Happy.
Wait.
Have they spotted him?
Yeah, they just about did. I think Blase knew, and he was trying to comm to his team saying, I don't think he realizes we're here. We might be able to get a pick, but he just about escapes. Now Jake's going to be waiting for the initiation. I mean, the guy's been practicing a lot of his Doomfist parkour in the custom games. Now they're going to be leading down, jumping down, seeing if they can find an opening here. Possibly a quick little pick-off. The Doomfist enables quite a bit. You can see already the damage being done as they're getting pushed against the walls. It's very difficult to stand up to this kind of pressure, I think, when you're playing the London Spitfires composition. Hybrid going down means they're lacking a ton of damage. Great accretion, and Jake moves back in as well, but he is eventually traded out.
Good time.
But not before the damage is done. His team are going to be playing off the back of it, and now only a couple of players left remaining here for London. They got to rethink how they want to come back in.
The sign of an excellent team is how they disengage and re-engage. And Houston there, once they realized that Jake had taken too much damage and had to back off to that Mega, Houston just take their time, Happy reconnects with the backline, and then they choose their timing to re-engage off the back of Jake putting pressure on Hadi. And as soon as that Reinhardt goes down, it's open season for Happy, for Piggy to make their work happen.
You can see the early ultimates being used, the Immortality Field as well by London, just so they can get past this choke point. It's going to be the 1-for-1 trade. Losing Molfig, not ideal. Jake behind, misses the punch. He's going to have to get his way out of there, but he's caught out of position. That's a tricky one. And both him and Juby gone because of the amplification matrix on the high ground. London in prime position to just take this. There's not going to be a contest coming out from Houston. They're going to give this one up.
Great early kill onto Django. Very nicely set up by the London Spitfire, and they've given themselves an even larger time bank than Houston had. 5 minutes on the clock for them as they move their way forwards. And Houston defending with a Doom and Hanzo. So Happy's going to be trying to use the high ground as much as possible and pepper London. We've seen how good Happy's Hanzo is before. He really can just generate picks from nowhere sometimes.
We're going to be using these the information from Happy's arrows here to get some initiations going in as well. It's a reminder as well, these players are playing on slightly higher ping as well, so the Doomfist is a little bit optimal! You can't just pull that out when I'm mid-sentence, Django! At least give me a bit of setup! Look at him around the corner!
Look at his face as well!
Because he knows, mate, he knows he's in the top 5 playlist already. The YouTube video is being compiled. It's uploading as we speak.
Just childish glee on his face as he realizes that his shatters are the greatest that we have in the Overwatch League right now.
My
This guy just continues again and again to find the perfect timings. Here's the replay coming around the corner. What's the timing based on? He just spots them? Someone must feed some info to him.
No way,
my
dude.
Word. He just bunny hopped straight
person?
past. He bunny hopped straight past Hadi's shield with a little bit of speed.
Well, the fight continues. London needs to be playing aggressive into this one. They've used the amplification matrix, but they're not gaining any ground. Too many players fallen. They do take out Crimzo, but he's going to be back in the fight momentarily there. And yeah, I mean, Django is just, I think, finessing. I think he was using the third-person over-shoulder view from holding up the shield to catch the timing of when to B-hop around the corner.
I mean, he was perfect with it. It worked perfectly. Hadi approaching with his shield, but Django just gets straight past it. London have all the ults they could possibly want to be able to crack this, but it's the aggression coming out from Houston. Django's up to 80% of another shatter here, and they still have, you know, Jake can play aggressively because he has a Meteor Strike to be able to get out. There's the Fire Strike through the Amp Matrix as well. Picks Kellex immediately, and now Django has his Earth Shatter. What is going on here? It's just dominance from Houston as they rotate their abilities. Not even ultimates necessarily, but just perfect understanding of the timings and the windows of opportunity.
And that coordination between your flex support player and your main tank, so brutal. He goes for it again. He goes for it again. He finds the pick up onto Molfig, and one pick might just be all they need. The Deadeye from the side, but Hybrid gets taken down almost instantly. Look at the techers here from Jake as well. Just about feeding. Looking kind of
Jake
clean.
thought he was in a he thought he was in a parkour map there for a second. They wanted to go for some extra aggression and just finish this fight off. Keep applying pressure. Jake's gonna respawn, go over to the Mei. That's all fine. I like the Mei here on the defense as well. I don't think the Doomfist has been the most important factor of how Houston have been able to hold here. So everything's just working out for Houston. But at some point, it has to fail. London are banking up so many ultimates here, and Houston's rotation is eventually gonna run dry.
And Matrix is going to be used, counteracted again. Gravitic Flux into the sky. It forces out the Immortality Field, but look at this. He's going to be using one of his own. He's going to be connecting with that Gravitic Flux, and the Blizzard gets 8. Oh no, sorry, the Blizzard actually ends up taking out the Immortality Field there.
Look at this fight on the low ground between Blase and Jake as well. Just battling together. Jake completely caught out there as the rest of London just dropped on his head.
They've given up the high ground positioning. Piggy's behind them, actually, just shredding them with damage. They've been caught. 2 approaches, one from the spawn, one from the high ground, just pumping in the damage. And it's going to be some big heroics. Hadi tries to lay down the Earth Shatter. Django matches with one of his own, but not going to be finding too much done. Still, the Houston Outlaws have so much damage as the spawners are coming through. It's a bit of a wraparound, but Hybrid taken out as Happy finds one arrow to the cranium. Puts him down, out of the fight. 50 seconds remaining now for the London Spitfire. And Josh, that was their best fight yet.
It was, and they used a lot of good ultimates to be able to give it their best shot too. with 30 seconds left, pushing into the Houston Outlaws here when Happy has a Dragon Strike too. We've already seen what this guy can do with his Dragon Strikes. He got a 3K on the flank when we were playing on Oasis. This kind of stuff is really plausible here that it could happen over again. London faking some high ground control and now go towards the point. And there it is!
The Dragon Strike as they try and cut across. Not going to be playing for that one. Hardy and Ripper down. What do you do if you're London here? You don't have time. You have to try and contest. Someone has to touch this one. Kellex is trying to set himself up to be in position for it. 7 seconds remaining. Hardy moving over to the Wrecking Ball. Might be able to go over from the flank. Just about touches. Avoids the ice wall. It's going to get onto the point as well. He's avoiding a lot of damage and just keeping this overtime going, but London need to find a way in, and Matrix is again traded out. Happy goes down, holding a little bit too close there. The Immortality Field falling as well. It's scrappy, it's chaotic, and that might just be what London need. See, a lot of being utilized here. Sound barrier from Kellex just to keep his team back into it, but Reaper falls, and they're all corralled into the corner once more. Molfig, the only one standing onto the point, the only one keeping it going. It's not going to be enough. The Houston Outlaws are going to do it. They're going to stop the London Spitfire from pushing, and that will be map number 3, and the series going their way.
Extremely well played to the Houston Outlaws there. All of the regular crew just getting it done. Houston have locked up their place in the May Melee knockouts, which I think is utterly well-deserved at this point.
It's insane,
going
isn't
4-0 in the first 2 weeks of their Overwatch League 2021 season. Nobody was expecting that to happen. I honestly, I doubt they were expecting it. With competition like the San Francisco Shock, I think they would have been happy with a 3-1, maybe even a 2-2 if they had squeaked in. But they've overperformed everybody's expectations and look like hands down one of the best teams in the North American region, if not the best right now, heading into the May Melee.
Absolutely. No, and I think as well, it's so interesting to think about. I mean, I'm pulling this out of my backside a little bit, but thinking about the history of the Overwatch League. The last time Houston has seen this kind of success was probably what we were seeing on the Indeed player resume of Jake, 2018 Stage 1. And I cannot recall the last time we really saw anything really better out of Houston. There may have been some tournaments here and there scattered across, but overall,
no, there's been nothing.
This is a Houston Outlaws that are looking so clean. And as we head into our player of the match presented by Xfinity, well, we got to hand it off. There's a couple of candidates, honestly, given the fact that this match, the way it went. But Django is going to be our guy. And my word, has he performed on a variety of roles. His Earth Shatters towards the end of the game as well. I mean, it just makes the job easy for our editors.
It really does, doesn't it? The highlight reel. Who should we watch? Oh, yeah, what about that 5K Earth Shatter from Django? Why not? Yeah, that sounds pretty good to me. It's just nutty what this guy's able to get done. And like you said, there were other good candidates too. Crimzo had a hell of a game. You know, KSF performed really well to fill in for Dante. Happy's always a beast for this roster. But Django just stole the show towards the end. He may not have been the front runner coming into Hanamura, but after watching that, can you really give it to anybody else? I'd also like to say that his Winston performance, when it comes to just any map where they end up fielding it, but here on Gibraltar is a great example, has been way better than expected coming into the Overwatch League season. Everyone knew that Django had a good Reinhardt. We didn't know how good it would end up being, but other picks like the Winston ended up being a bit of a question. And I think that Django has comprehensively answered those questions in his first couple of weeks. The Django Piggy tank line is looking like they're going to be among the best in the North American region. And that's spectacular.
It is. I mean, a good tank line is integral for a good team, honestly, for the entirety of the season. It's such an important backbone, I think, for the rest of the team. And now we've got Danny with an interview, I believe. This is with Happy as well. Take it away, Danny.
Brandon, Josh, thank you very much. Everybody, welcome to Game Break presented by Pringles. We're now joined by Happy from Houston Outlaws. Happy 선수, 안녕하세요.
안녕하세요.
네, 그럼 곧바로 질문 시작하겠습니다. We're just gonna go right into the questions. Now, with this win, you guys are now 4-0. That surprised a lot of people, including your fans. What do you think gave you guys the edge over the other Western teams? 이번 승리로 4승 무패라는 기록을 이번 휴스턴이 세우게 되셨는데요. 무엇이 좀 휴스턴 팀을 좀 다른 서부 팀들보다 우위에 설 수 있게 했다고 보시나요? 해피 선수가 보시기엔.
그냥 저희가 지금
네.
너무 열심히 하고 있는 것 같아요. 그냥 뭐 별다른 건 딱히 없고 너무 다들 열심히 하고 있고 그냥 잘하는 선수들도 많이 들어왔고 그냥 그런 게 다인 것 같아요. 너무 열심히 하고 있어서 딱히 뭐라 할 말은 없는 것 같아요. 너무 열심히 하고 있습니다.
There's really not much for me to say other than we're really giving it our all. We're really trying our best. We're giving it our 200%. And also we acquired a lot of great players, but you know, more than that, I think the most important thing is our Houston Outlaws team, our staff, everyone in our team, we're just giving it all that we've got. All right. Second question is, you guys actually, with today's win, clinched a spot in the knockout rounds. Is there a team that you sort of wish to play in the knockout rounds, or is there a team that you sort of want to avoid, and why? 이번 질문 좀 살짝 좀 재밌는 질문인데요. 이번 경기로 이제 5월 토너먼트에 들어가기 전 예선전에 확정이 되셨는데 휴스턴 팀이 예선전에서 꼭 이 팀과는 한번 겨뤄보고 싶다 하는 팀이 있으신가요? 아니면 뭐 이 팀은 좀 피하고 싶다, 그리고 좀 이유?
일단은 피하고 싶은 팀은 없고요. 저희는 다 이길 수 있다고 생각하고 있기 때문에 저희는 글래디 한번 만나보고 싶어요. 경기에서 사람들이 많이 잘한다고, 지금 글래디가 1승 2패이긴 하지만 아직도 사람들이 글래디가 엄청 잘한다고 평가를 많이 하고 있어가지고 한번 글래디랑 해보고 싶네요.
Alright, so there's definitely no team that we want to avoid because our mentality is that we could beat anyone that we have to face. For the team that we sort of want to see, we really want to play against the Gladiators. The word on the street right now is that Gladiators, although they are 2-2 right now, you know, that a lot of people think that they're one of the strongest teams in the NA region. So we definitely want to go face them in the knockout round. Alright, Happy, thank you so much for the interview. 다음에 뵙도록 하겠습니다. 감사합니다, 인터뷰해 주셔서.
네, 감사합니다. Thank you.
Alright, everybody. Zoe, take it away.
Thank you so much, Danny. Thank you so much, Happy. And once more, congratulations to the Houston Outlaws. With that victory, they now managed to actually roll right through the May Melee qualifiers as they finish with a perfect 4-0 record. And that means that they will qualify for the knockout matches beginning next Sunday already. Now, of course, there is just so much to talk about here on the Houston Outlaws side. We already heard it from the casters about Django and Piggy, like phenomenal tank line. Happy, obviously, he popped off in that first map as well and showed us so much, you know, variety and versatility. But I want to quickly touch on KSF Costa, because coming into this, he had to fill the shoes of Dante. And it's not like KSF is a bad tracer, but he's also not known for his tracer. But he did his job and then some.
Yeah, I think KSF, he said himself on Twitter, as Sideshow said, that he really struggled in the match. You know, that's not how you want to have your debut when you're getting picked so much, but he showed that he is a very versatile player and that he can bring a lot to the roster when, you know, other people can't play those roles. I also want to highlight the Houston Outlaws strategy. You heard it in their like mid-break talk between Jake and KSF. I'm not going to repeat it because I'll probably get fired if I do. But I do want to say that like Jake's idea and plan was shut down Shaxx by enabling KSF with all these Brig armor packs. So I do want to give big props there. But just the Houston Outlaws were just on a different level to the London Spitfire. And I think that's something that the London Spitfire have to learn from, is that they are rookies in this league for the most part. They are coming in. They have a lot to prove, but they can't do it against the best. Take from this, learn from this, and get a lot stronger, because unfortunately they can't match up with some of the better teams in the league right now.
Yeah, I mean, a loss is also a win, right? If you manage to learn from it and walk away from it with lots of notes and things to work on, and I'm pretty sure that London Spitfire will now go back to the drawing board and then, you know, come back storming hopefully next week. Now, we also have, of course, have the standings for you. So let's once more take a look at where we at after 2 weeks of play here already in the Overwatch League 2021 season. Outlaws are now officially in those knockout matches starting on Sunday. And we have other teams which are looking hot and potentially going to be in there as well. Who could still surprise us?
Well, I want to just step in here. Did you guys see Happy try and sell his Gladiator Scrimbucks in the end of that interview. He tried to sell us Gladiator Scrimbucks right there. So I'm not buying right now, Happy. I'm going to wait to see it. But
Gotta appreciate the hustle, though, right?
Yeah, you got to get rid of them somehow. So I respect it.
Reinforce. Any team you want to see in that knockout round, like, definitely?
Well, I am looking out for the Washington Justice. Obviously, they had their debut yesterday. They have another match today. So they still have 3 more matches to go before the knockout matches. So I'm just looking out to see more Washington Justice because they have an incredible lineup. Mag yesterday, he was on fire on the Winston going up against Fearless. Decay, Assassin on Echo. Phenomenal display of skill from the Washington Justice. So they have 3 more matches to play. I can't wait to see more from Washington.
Well, we have to wait a little bit. The Washington match will happen at the very end of the day. For now, we're talking about the next match coming up. And that is, of course, the Dallas Fuel, who will face off against the Boston Uprising. Now, we all picked Dallas to win this bout, but the reality is that they are currently sitting on just 1 win and 2 losses. So Reinforce, why are they the favorites coming into this?
Well, I think they displayed a lot of good fundamentals when it comes to their Overwatch gameplay. The way we've seen Fearless play this Winston, taking space, positioning, and then have Sparkle capitalize on that. We've talked about this extensively the past 2 weeks. Sparkle, not known for his Tracer play necessarily coming into this season. Dallas Fuel, they didn't have a hit scan player. But the way Sparkle has been able to fill that Tracer role has been phenomenal. His mechanics aren't incredible, but the way he always finds himself at the right position, at the right time. Pulse bombs to get these picks. Finishing off people who are low, finishing people who are hacked by Doa Sombra. Really good Tracer play coming out of Sparkle. So I think that despite the fact that Dallas Fuel, they do have a couple of losses in that column, but I think they displayed really good fundamentals. This is still a really good team. So yeah, they're set back. They don't have a fantastic hit scan player on their roster, but they're adapting, they're still showing great fundamentals, and I think they'll be able to use that against the Boston Uprising and get that win.
Yeah. I love when Costa Cruises are just like, yeah.
I don't have any much more to add. Like, you just need to remember, those losses for the Dallas Fuel are against a very strong LA Gladiators this weekend, and then also against the Houston Outlaws, which look like one of the best teams in the region. They have very hard
And it was a
matches.
close game against Outlaws, too. Like, it was not a one-sided affair at all. Yeah, so this is going to be an exciting one. And, you know, it is now time for Pringle's bold predictions. And listen, right? I'm up. That's correct. I gave a lot of you, some heat for your probable predictions. Quite frankly, like none of you really blew me away. So here it is. You ready?
All right, Zoe.
Okay.
All right.
Right. Thought
Here we go.
really long and hard about this for the past 30 minutes, and I gotta be honest with you, this is way harder than I thought. My probable prediction, I'm just gonna rename the segment, is a Dallas Fuel is gonna win this bout.
That's a regular prediction.
That's the prediction.
That's just a prediction.
Honestly, I could not come up with any
Wow.
at all, because I hate to be wrong. I do not want to be wrong. So
They're the favorites.
Okay, how about this?
At least go for Boston.
Fearless is gonna get like 3 or more Primal Rages.
He does that every
3 or more?
16 in one match.
In one series?
You ready for another one? I can go all day. But please don't, sorry. You know who looks really impressed right now with my very hot takes? That's right. It's Uber and Miss Rex. Go on, shower me.
I'm not impressed at all. I think that was terrible.
Well, and I misread the situation in that case.
Yeah, I mean, you must not have been able to see our faces. Yeah, hot take. This is the second match of the day. How about that? I don't know. Hot take. They're gonna play Overwatch. I don't know. What else? What
Hey, I
other
can play
kind of
this
hot
one.
takes could we get?
Hot take. Dallas
out
are going to
there.
win on a day of the week that ends in day. How about that?
Whoa, that's a hot take.
Calm down there, Mitch.
Okay.
We should let these guys do it from now on.
Oh, God.
Oh no.
I'm already
Yeah,
warmed
you
up and ready to go.
deserve yourself the
The
responsibility
Yeah.
of,
see this? My shoulders are getting
Congrats.
involved in the action. That's how you know I'm getting serious.
Love-
All right.
oh,
we got hot
Love
takes. We
your-
got plenty of those.
Love your
baby.
shirt,
Let's
by
go.
the way.
Thank
One
you,
day
Danny.
without the
Yeah.
pump, Mitch.
Love
See,
your
that would've
face,
been a
by
hot
the way.
take. You actually like Mitch's shirt. That would have been a hot take. I mean,
I like
love
it,
it,
Mitch.
to be
I like it.
honest. Yeah.
Good look, man.
I like it too.
You're lucky you're not in the same room as me, Matthew. That's all I'm going
we
to say.
are
Let's
in the
jump
same
into this.
room. What are you talking about? We're right next to each other.
Come here. Let me give you a hug, bro. Let me give you a hug. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Yes, it's time for our second match of the day. It is the Dallas Fuel, who have had a tough couple of weeks. Obviously, Matt, you know, we beat this horse to death. They are without their hit scan player, but their fundamentals, like Johnny pointed out, have looked really good. They've also really managed to get a lot of mileage out of Sombra and Tracer. The Boston Uprising, on the other hand, though, Matt, we saw their debut yesterday, and they encountered, I would say, a lot of the issues that we kind of expected them to. They were up against stiff competition, but there were definitely bright spots for this Uprising roster here in 2021.
If I'm being honest, I think the Uprising were a little bit underwhelming to me yesterday. I thought that they probably should have put up a better fight against Gladiators, and we just didn't see that. And maybe we see them put up a better fight today. It was just not the Boston Uprising I expected. I expected this Boston team to really kind of push some of these teams up near the upper echelons of NA and really give them tough games. That was not what we saw the other day. Hopefully we see it today. We can take a look at the Boston starting lineup. No changes from yesterday, so not really too surprising. I think they also had some issues yesterday keeping Youngbung alive, which they're going to run into today, right? With the Sombra, the Sparkle Tracer, and the Doomfist in the mix.
Oh, yeah, and let's not mention the fact that Fearless is playing in this match. And Stan1 is going up against the main tank that he used to understudy for, right? These two players, they've both got Shanghai logos set up in the lobby. Obviously, they both, you know, were competing for the same role there, and it was definitely the Fearless show. So Stan1 knows he has a tough matchup ahead, especially when we've seen this Fuel roster get a lot of value out of the ult cycling between Ana and Winston. That means that this backline, Myunbong as well, would want to try and play aggressive, will want to maybe be, Matt, dare I say, audacious, but he'll be under a lot of pressure a lot of the time. Let's have a look at the Dallas Fuel starting roster here. Many people, Matt, this has sort of been the general consensus, and I want to get your take on this because I'm very interested. Yeah. Some people have leveraged criticism saying that maybe the backline, maybe the supports of this team are one of the weaker facets of it. Do you agree? Do you feel like that's unreasonable? Where are you at on it?
Well, no, I think if you looked at this team, right, and they had a hit scan player, let's say if Exi, you know, was still on the roster, you would look at it and say that the supports is the biggest thing you have to question about. But when they have field, I think it's also because of some of the stuff that the Outlaws did last season. If you remember, they were rotating supports so much early on. I think that's where people get scared a little bit. They're already not feeling the best about them at times. And then also you see them rotating so much, where I probably imagine fans would like to see Fielder in a little bit more or play consistently. But they swap between all three of them. All three of them rank about the same in our IBM power rankings. As you see, the first map in the series will be Nepal. And I think it's a support core that will just get better as the season goes along, but man, the rest of the roster is so stacked. Like with how good Fearless is at Winston and the other tanks, you know, everything that Sparkle can do, it's almost like the Washington Justice, where like, yeah, their support may not match up to, you know, the hype of everything else, but still really good players and more than enough to get the job done.
I mean, that's maybe what made that match yesterday so interesting, and this one will definitely be curious in its own kind of way here. The Dallas Fuel look like they definitely have a front line that can cause problems for the Boston Uprising. I mean, Field's not in this game, so we won't harp on it for too long, but he was playing the Brigitte and Rappel was playing the Ana as well. I think a lot of people knew Fielder as being this pretty dominant Ana player on the Eternal. Not so much the case here, at least that's not where he's going to be getting used. We expect the Dallas Fuel here, of course, on a map like Shrine. I mean, you probably see them play, you know, like Reinhardt-based compositions. You can play the Winston setup here, but could be tough stuff for the Uprising to sort of challenge. We'll have two vastly different compositions here to start with.
Something going on with the shield and the basketball here in the spawn. I'm 37 playing the Sombra potentially. Just it's like Anchorman, like the reporting when they go out.
It's Bowen and Gale out here. Back to you in the studio.
We saw Boston yesterday. They ran some Sombra Doom stuff, Sombra Reaper. This time they're coming out with Sombra Echo. The Sombra will deter Dallas if they play it quite often from running some of that Doomfist compositions. But the Dallas Fuel, they come out with Sparkle on the Symmetra early on.
Let's see exactly what this is. Okay, that is... that's rather uncouth. A teleporter to the high ground. Fearless as well. I don't really have wings. I can't challenge the high ground. I don't have a jump pack. What I do have is a teleporter. That is... I don't think Boston were ready for that at all.
No, and even if they were, playing up on that high ground and seeing Fearless come up there as Rein and just kind of trying to trade with him even heal, you're just not going to be able to do so. I see already at 60% to a Shatter. Let's see what Boston decides to do. Against this Symmetra, they have to be careful because if they take their time up on the high ground, you're going to see the TP come in straight up again.
The initiative must be Boston's here, as Dallas have shown they're more than happy to take the fight to the enemy. Stand1 down early here, and Hanbin is occupying all of the attention of Valentine right now. He gives up his mech as a result, but goes for an instant remech with the self-destruct to get back into the fight here. But really, he's not needed at the point. The Dallas Fuel and 5 are looking cozy.
And Hanbin taking Valentine out of the fight is huge because he's the source of damage you're really worried about. If everything else is just kind of an even matchup on the point, you feel great with the Mei Reinhardt combination against like Winston, Sombra, even their own diva from Boston Uprising. So Valentine will have a duplicate here, probably going for one of the tanks.
Repel, expecting this kind of push here, so Amp Matrix thrown on the point. Not really intended for anyone, actually. Maybe more so for his Amp healing.
Yeah, they can't really push on through, so it'll buy them some time.
Valentine's just peeking around the periphery here. Doesn't want to expose himself to fire for any long period of time. The duplicate. Okay, Valentine's in on the Reinhardt here, but Faith has already gone down. Shadow. Oh my! That's nasty. Fearless on the charge. Valentine stoic here, but he's probably pretty upset about that one. And again, no real opportunity to get a Shatter of his own here. Dallas remain in control, 90% and ticking on the clock here in the Uprising. They're struggling to really force the Fuel to dig deep here.
Yeah, Stand1 jumped on top of Fearless. They hacked him. They duplicated him. He still lands a huge Shatter. This will be a rally. It's cut off by the Mei wall there from Faith. He finally gets onto the point, but still trying to push into this Doha Mei. It does not look good.
The Uprising are trying to start 3 different fights at once, and none of them are working out for them. The Dallas Fuel look vastly more composed, vastly more cohesive on that first round. You see that, like, that fight begins, Punk just gets lasered out of his mech. He can't do anything about the Symmetra.
Fearless? Yeah, I mean, it's Val not really able to do anything there. The entire round was Boston, but just how good has Fearless been during the qualifiers? like it's a team that's 1-2, but like he has played on another level, like to get them here to potentially finish this qualifier rounds at 2-2. Nobody would want to see this Dallas Fuel in the knockouts with how good him and Hanbin have been playing. See what the Dallas Fuel do again. Do they stay on the Symmetra and play point control? I'm 37 on the McCree. You'll have, okay, so they're going to play McCree Doom. Interesting here. So no Sombra in the mix. I wonder if Dallas, with seeing no Sombra, will end up switching off of this.
Omi's a front line is less of a safe place for Sparkle here. He has to dance around the pillar a little bit, and Jexer is the first casualty. Immortality Field eventually removed, and I'm37 is down. Valentine now facing the scrutiny of the laser beam. He's in trouble. Sparkle's charged up and ready to rumble, and the rest of the Uprising are in full-scale retreat here. He'll have that shield. Sparkle munches through that one. And again, a lot of the fights on this map probably occur within, Symmetra's ideal range, especially if the Fuel are playing this aggressively, man.
And just burning down the Reinhardt shield, giving Fearless a shield advantage when he already probably has the advantage in terms of just the Reinhardt v Reinhardt matchup. They're 90% to a Shatter. You start to get that Symmetra beam onto the Rein. You work that shield down. That's a free Shatter for Fearless.
Oh, that's nasty for Myungbong. He can do nothing about this Mei wall. Eventually gets broken down. Immortality Field gets thrown in the mix, but so much damage has been done, rather, and that still would have had to be healed up after the drone was destroyed. That was never going to happen. Sparkle comes out with a bunch of kills there, and there's enough time to set up TPs. Perfect Mei wall from Doha. Definitely one of his standout heroes over the last couple of weeks, Matt.
Absolutely, and when Myungbong uses the Amp Matrix, there's a Mei wall in the mix, and then the Symmetra wall as well. Absolutely zero value from that, and then Fearless pushes on through and just lands a Shatter regardless. Punk uses the Gravitic Flux, just trying to get over the wall, help his tank.
Already Immortality Field was used by the Boston Uprising, and you thought they had the upper hand in that fight. Well, think again. They're forced to back away after already having spent a huge ultimate. Gravitic Flux is so key against rush comps to set up these fights, and that's off the table just for survivability. Valentine, I mean, there are turrets above the doorway. He either didn't expect that or wasn't ready for the damage there. He has to use his ultimate as well for safety.
And Stand1 hasn't had an opportunity to even try and land a Shatter at this point we have Fearless on his second, Stan One still holding on to his first. Valentine now will switch over to the Mei, so play a little bit closer in control, but this is where you actually get more value out of the Symmetra, right? If the Dallas Fuel are going to play this close brawly type of setup, work down these shields, the Symmetra is huge here.
Blizzard. Okay, Stan One's caught inside that one. Fearless has his pick of the litter and he throws the hammer down. Everybody is frozen here for the Boston Uprising. And the Shadow was really just the cherry on top of that snow cone. And there's no chance for the Uprising. It's just Punk on the point right now. Again, he'll try and stall. Jexa tries to send him careening over the edge. He'll eventually have to leave, come back, beat D-Suda, bopped around again. Slapped around the cheeks somewhat. Stan One turns up here. Pile Driver backs away. Adaptive shielding is good, but he's frozen up now. And all of Mondada's gold is not going to be enough consolation for the Uprising there, who get absolutely boomed.
Yeah, I mean, that was a bloodbath. That was not very close at all in terms of, I mean, that second point, Dallas completely dominated. They were fantastic on the first point. This is a really bad start for Boston. Like I mentioned, I had pretty high hopes for this team. To see them come out the other day with the way they looked and then start off this series like this, they need to find something that works and quick.
I mean, between Maywall, Immortality Field, Symmetra Barrier, that McCree pick from I'm37 completely nullified. At no point did the Uprising get into the sight lines they wanted to, and that McCree pick was just completely useless. We'll be back after the break, ladies and gentlemen. The Boston Uprising, it's a rude awakening, and now they've got a lot of work to do in map 2.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League, and by IBM, the official cloud and AI partner of the Overwatch League.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to this matchup between the Uprising and the Fuel. And speaking of the latter, all three of their support options nestled together between 16th and 18th here in our power rankings with IBM Watson. That's week 1 stats as we enter week 2. Remember, 100, a rating 100 is a league average there. So you see the Fuel are at least punching at their weight and above. Now, Matt, on the list of things that aren't surprising is number 1, that Mitch Leslie dads in the year 2021. 2, that the Dallas Fuel look pretty bloody comfortable here against an Uprising that still has a lot of kinks to work out, I think.
Yeah, and well, you see those ratings, right? The support's above league average. We know that Fearless and Hanbin are really high up in the power rankings in terms of the tanks. Fielder will come in for Jexay. The DPS have really stepped up in terms of filling in different gaps, without a hit scan player. So, yeah, it all equates to a very strong team at 1 and 2 right now. They've had a really tough schedule here in our qualifiers, but Boston's gotta find something, Mitch. No, that first map was ugly. I mean, they got beat pretty bad. We'll see how it goes into Havana. Havana, they could play, Ein 37 on, some type of hit scan stuff, make it a little bit harder as the sightlines are extremely long. You take a look at our map leaderboard for Havana, presented by Xfinity. And you see the Dallas Fuel set a pretty good time on this in the past. 255, pretty strong. Havana, a pretty difficult map to finish.
Back in 2019, this is as well, which is, I mean, in fairness, that was sort of during a weaker period for the Fuel, or at least, maybe one of their sort of, lifted up performances against a weaker Washington Justice. But still, this franchise definitely holds one of those records. Worth bearing in mind here that the Boston Uprising looks so bad because that Symmetra May composition, Matt, seems really good at snowballing an early advantage, right? Especially against a comp that wants to bring McCree along as much as possible. The Uprising here at least maybe a little bit more time to sort of get to grips with what the Fuel are going to be bringing towards them. They will be defending first, though, so they're going to need to... they're going to need to sort themselves out here, otherwise they're going to find this map runs pretty darn quick.
Yeah, we'll see what they decide to do. They could play close up. They could play something like a double sniper we've seen, like the Shock have played on this specific map. It'll be interesting what Boston has cooked up here. So, Reinhardt in the mix. Ryan Diva, yep, this will be a close hold. So they're going to hold close on the corner, kick things off. We'll see how Dallas responds to this.
Don't forget to represent your favorite team this season by shopping for official Overwatch League merchandise at overwatchleague.com/team-shops. That's overwatchleague.com/team-shops. Can't get my shirts there. Sorry, guys. That's just a different tier altogether. But the Dallas Fuel, we'll see what they come out with on the attacking side here. But Boston, all right, so they still have the McCree, the main. I mean, it's a pretty reminiscent comp of what we saw actually on Control.
They can look out the window and see it. So they know it's coming.
It has been duly noted. And now the Fuel... Okay, Sparkle Doomfist here to start with. This could be an issue if the Uprising want to play close.
And we'll see how they're able to put pressure on Ein 37. Getting the Doomfist on top of him. McCree not mobile, but a lot of resources to be able to keep the McCree alive. Nice freeze and a pin there for Stand 1 to take out Fearless.
Only on 37 going down so far. Stand 1 also falling, so this becomes much more of a precarious, a tenuous position to play from here for the Uprising. But again, they kind of get what they came for. They walk away. Stand 1 gets a decent bit of ult percentage. Bimdong as well, crucially. Before the fight will get to the corner, he'll have an amplification matrix online. There's no guarantee Repel himself will.
I really want to see how Sparkle plays and what kind of angles of position he takes and attacks from, because playing in this long sightline against a McCree is going to be pretty tough. As Hanbin and Sparkle go to the high ground, that'll be an amp matrix dropped here from Myungbong, trying to put some more pressure on the cart.
Yeah, but Myungbong, look, no interest in using this at all, right? I would definitely say this is a little bit more of a passive approach than we saw him try and use the matrix prior. So we built it up pretty darn quickly in the end, but now the Fuel have one a little bit later in the piece. Hanbin's low, though, needs to be topped up, and Sparkle doesn't really get what he was looking for there. I'm 37 deals with him. Despite this, though, it's a 5v5, make no mistake. The Uprising are backing up. Stand 1 shield was very low, so they had to take a breather. Now the Shatter attempt, not bad. Fearless knocked to the ground. It's going to be an Immortality. Field now is frozen up. Field's down, so is Fearless. The Uprising find the pick, and they double down with a sound barrier?
I don't think they needed the sound barrier. I mean, who's even alive at that moment in time? Just had Hanbin up. There's no real threat of anybody dropping, and even if they do, you're going to be able to get back to the cart where... And now you don't have sound barrier for Blizzard that comes through, the Shatter. That's going to be one that they may look back and really wish they didn't use there.
Myeonbong has built another amplification matrix, so kudos in that regard. Sparkle comes up a little bit short there on the rocket punches, so this is a little awkward. Yeah, he just uses this passively, gives himself a bit of a reset. I mean, he can play from the high ground and get 3 seismic slams without uppercuts, but this is I'm37 coming forward to sound barrier a little bit late from the Dallas Fuel. Neither team really able to be in beat with each other. Shatter, that's a big one though. 3 players hit with that one, and the self-destruct is going to compound the issue even more. Valentine falls to Fearless's follow-up, and there's a fire strike that fizzes through the air and takes down Stand 1.
I mean, you lose Sparkle first, but you still win the fight. Like, these are advantages that the Boston Uprising has because of the roster that the Dallas Fuel has right now, in just the way this map is designed, is they may get back here for another touch.
And they do, just in time, but Myeonbong down. Micro Rockets have found him, so the healing severely limited right now for the Uprising. Really hard to make a stand under those conditions. Valentine eventually will succumb, and Faith is a little bit late to the party there. That is the Fuel getting across the line, and Repelled is absolutely dishing damage here. 4 final blows, at least, for him on the kill feed.
It is also really weird to see Fielder come in and project Zay and play the Lucio here.
I know.
On offense. It's got to be a strategy on defense that they want to use and have his flexibility in for. Is Boston, they have some ultimates to use here. They need to get a fight win.
They have a Deadeye, so again, they can speed boost forward, push up behind the Rhine Shield and try and catch someone out of formation. That's the Mei wall, so that won't be around to block the Deadeye if it comes through, but they've already lost Stand 1. Fielder finishes the job, and I'm37 gets absolutely nothing for that dearly held McCree ultimate, and guess what? Speed boost forward, Shatter, it's another good one! And the Fuel start to push up.
Well, Boston, they end up using Sound Barrier in the Amp Matrix, and the Dallas Fuel just speed on out and start pushing the cart. They're going to have an advantage with a Sound Barrier here coming up next.
Nice Mei wall, the Shatter is there for Stand 1. He gets what he wanted. It was just Fearless that he wanted to remove here. Fielder does get a Sound Barrier, but Valentine's Blizzard is eaten up. There's a chance for the Fuel in this fight still. Here's the Blizzard late in the day, but Stand 1 is stocked still on the cart. Repel removes him now. Fielder, Doha. No one really wants us to touch the cart right now. Valentine almost frozen stiff. Punk trying to control the high ground here, and Hanbin has the self-destruct, so he gets a mech reset. Punk has to stay on the high ground, and Valentine had no help as a result.
No, and now you've lost your Mei, you lost another player before that, so now you're coming back off the spawn. It'll be a full-strength fight for both teams. Dallas, they want to be the aggressive team. They have to be with the Doomfist in the mix, and they get a D-mech on the Punk.
Self-destruct for Punk, gets Fielder. Okay, there's some value there as Fielder flies a little bit too close to the sun. It's a 1-for-1 trade, obviously, as Fielder made sure he secured the D.Va kill, and maybe that's even higher value at this point, where you don't need the speed so much as you've got the healing from the Batiste. And look at this, look at how split Boston are. Still, they're able to get rid of Hanbin here. Looks like that Mei wall caused a couple of problems for Dallas in their attempts at a follow-up.
It was a really good immortality field, though, from Myeonbong that ended up saving some of the team. That'll be a Shatter from Stand 1. This will be the cleanup for the rest of the Uprising, but it was a really good Mei wall from Doha up on the high ground, and Sparkle goes in with a seismic slam, connects with a few players, but the immortality field in that type of situation, usually the immortality field can be pretty ineffective against Doomfist sometimes because he can knock players up out of it, punch them out of it, but in that close quarter hallway, they get really good value out of it.
Dallas will reconvene here. So there's a sound barrier for the Uprising, which is going to be relevant in this next fight, especially if Valentine's Mei wall is taken down and there is an Amp Matrix in play. That fire strike, that's disgusting. Still the Blizzard on the high ground now. Most of the Fuel back away. Fearless has to go through it. So now Dallas are cut in half. What do they do with this? Amp Matrix to the high ground. Look at Valentine. He had to go into Ice Block and had to be a sound barrier here. Despite them being cut in half, the Uprising still have to use this key support ultimate. Sparkle finds I'm37, but that's it. It's a fighting retreat from Myeonbong here as Hanbin desperately tries to get to grips with the BAP. He'll be de-suited and staggered as well. 14 seconds left in the round.
Yeah, and they'll have a sound barrier in Blizzard, but probably not going to be a very good attempt, is who is even going to get there to touch. It's potentially got to be Fielder, but with the route that they're running, it's not even going to get close to the card. Yeah, they needed to be a little bit faster than that.
Let's hear some Dallas comms right now.
자, 이거 좀 완막하면 돼. 그래, 하던 거 하자. 우리 잘하잖아 이거 수비.
근데 라인 나올 수도 있어 공격.
뭔가 정리 안 된다 싶으면 궁 더 올리고 뺄 때 확실히 빼고 그렇게 하면은 내가 봤을 때 충분히 연막 가능해 이거.
우리 지금 이게 방금 우리가 맡긴 거 그냥 뭔가 제대로.
All right, let's bring Danny Lim in here to translate some of these team comms. Danny, what do you got?
Hey Mitch, thank you. So from what I heard, they said, you know, we're really good on defense on Havana, so let's just play how we always do. Someone just mentioned that Boston Uprising might go with the Rhine on the attack, so they were looking out for that as well. And I also heard a comm saying that, you know, just when we're pushing back, push back. When you're going in, go in. Just be very decisive on how they play. And that's all I got for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Danny. And yes, Matt, Dallas, they pull up short here in the second phase of the map. They kind of run out of gas as they were looking for more opportunities. But Boston, they find some cohesion at a crucial moment.
I mean, that was the first round that you've really seen, at least in this series, like the lack of having that McCree option. The Sparkle Doomfist was not extremely effective. Dallas with an interesting look here, though. Double shield Hanzo in the mix. So see how Boston plays around this, as Dallas is right that Boston comes out with a Reinhardt-based composition. A lot of teams do here on Havana, nothing surprising.
So you mentioned about Fielder, something planned for him on defense. You're right, he is the designated brick player here, so double shield. Sparkle Genji, by the way. People ask for Kev's the Genji, but they didn't know they'd be getting Sparkle Genji.
The Genji's going to be tough here against Mei, McCree. Baptiste makes it difficult for like any flanking DPS with the Immortality field. They're really going to have to get some of these players low with the damage from the Sigma and the Hanzo for Sparkle to be able to do some work.
Sparkle drops down and contests the card. That may be one of his prime objectives here, given that he has the mobility to return to the Enclave of double shield. So the high ground, the Uprising go here. So they want to force Sparkle away and the rest of the fuel as well out into the open doing so. They've essentially done that. And they're on the cart again with one player, they're moving.
Yes, Boston's decided to take the high ground. Oh, nice shot there from Doha on Myungbong. That's the power of Hanzo, right? Just these flicks, just jumping up, firing an arrow, just taking out a player with a quick headshot Sonic Arrow, so you know that everybody here from the Uprising is still lingering around.
Decision time for Boston. They don't have their main healer right now. Can they afford to wait for Myungbong to get to them? Sparkle can sort of get in between. I like what they've done by dropping Punk here to the bottom right corner of your screen on the corner, so he can escort the Baptiste back. This could still be a problem. This is artificially causing a split in the Uprising setup, but they get Sparkle. I think he tried to go for the cleanup on Myungbong. It didn't work out, Matt, and Fire Strike goes into the kinetic grasp.
Yeah, and the Dallas Fuel trying to back out. No Lucio here, so no speed as you see everybody just trying to survive. Is smart read here from the Boston Uprising, pushing on through, getting some of these kills. Repel takes out I'm37, and the Dragon puts down some damage. Sparkle with a blade here. They still want to fight for this.
No healers left for Boston, Matt. Sparkle able to deflect some of that damage here. Gravitic Flux attempt from Hanbin pays off. Now, the Uprising are staved away in fairness, but they're going to have some big ultimates to bring into this next fight. They were split, they went aggressive. Sparkle looks like he seems to be the pivot on which the Fuel either live or die right now.
Oh, absolutely. In this type of composition, when they're going to be, you know, the halts, the accretion, the Genji dashes, a lot of that's going to come down from Sparkle. You see he goes for a dash there. He'll get taken out, and this should be Boston able to take this. Sound barrier, they already have a few players down. This time, the Dallas Fuel won't be able to fight back. This will be the Uprising taking that first checkpoint.
Crucially, not a whole lot of ultimates had to be spent for Boston. I mean, they keep the Blizzard, the Shatter, the M-Matrix. In fact, all of their highest value abilities are still, you know, in their possession coming into this next phase of the map. That is, it's dangerous for the Fuel. I mean, they have a supercharger here, a rally, but Dallas's less mobile composition doesn't seem to be paying off. Yes, there's a Genji, but there's no speed boost here. They're playing, you know, they're playing the battle cow, for God's sake.
They want to get up to the high ground here and probably drop this supercharger, buy some space, but they lose Sparkle straight away, and that's going to be a Shatter plus a self-destructing over the top. It's beautiful setups here by the Boston Uprising.
Yeah, this is composition dip to a degree. I'm37 finding crucial first kills, and this time the Uprising were forced to part with some of those key ultimates, right? Air Matrix self-destruct, Shatter is gone. There'll be one more fight, just one for Dallas. They're not fast. Again, they're moving out of spawn without Lucio. It feels, God, it feels awful. It feels like you're off to work in the coal mines coming out of spawn at this rate. Here's the Blizzard, and it's perfect. There's a couple players on the high ground. Fierce knocked into the Blizzard, might need a Fortify to stay alive, and yes, it's a trade. Here comes the Dragon Strike, though. Good placement for Doha, forces the Uprising into a corner, away from Valentine, who's a little vulnerable right now. Punk is demexed, and yep, straight away, there's the Amplification Matrix to follow up on the lack of Defense Matrix.
Yeah, they needed to end up using just about everything there. This next fight, you'll have a Sparkle Blade, no sound barrier on the other side of things, so potentially a fight win here for the Dallas Fuel, and then you come back with the Gravitic Flux for the fight after. So, not entirely over here. So Boston comes back into this next fight, it'll be pretty dry. Nothing to really use here.
The question is, how do you force the Immortality Field away? Because that's like 2 slashes for Sparkle, right? He does not want to have to deal with that himself. That has to go first. Stand one down. You're out of there, fam.
Yeah, they have to back out now without the Rhine. This allows them to definitely have the Gravitic Flux and another Dragon for the next fight. So you've had no time to get any type of ultimate charge, meaningful ultimate charge on anybody else on the team for Boston.
However, Dallas able to build up some ultimates to accompany this Dragon Blade now. Gravitic Flux, Dragon Strike, there's a lot of dragons out there. Fantasy Buff's Dream. Nice positioning. Oh, the Gravitic Flux. This could hurt. Okay, Doha doesn't have the Dragon Strike at the time, but I'm37 gets his Deadeye reflected straight back at him. That is the ultimate dishonor for McCree players. He'd be furious. Sparkle, though, grinning. Well, he'd be grinning from ear to ear if he wasn't busy on ruining the rest of the Uprising. A minute left here, and Boston running out of time.
And you're able to save Dragon Strike. You're able to save Blade here for the Dallas Fuel. It was a big reflect of the Deadeye from Sparkle and the Gravitic Flux from Hanbin. So now if you're Boston, what do? You just get the mech back. You're going to have a Shatter here, Shatter Blizzard. There's no sound barrier on the other side, so maybe that's the way you take advantage of it.
Double shield, Matt. You're looking for a Shatter here, you're lucky if you get one. In fact, Stand One's probably just hoping to get a solo Shatter of some sort. All of the Uprising have to move through this doorway. The Dragon Strike is eaten, though. Great positioning from Punk. He shuts Doha's key ultimate down, but Valentine is still fallen. Stand One again. He's getting out. And all of that time, that gigantic time bank for the Boston Uprising, well, they suffered a run and a bit of inflation because now they're struggling. Sparkle with the Blade, Immortality Field thrown down, removed instantly. Now it's to Shatter. It's a big one from Stand One with the Genji in their way. They actually can't push up. It's like a 4-player Shatter, but it's not going to be enough. And Sparkle claims 2. He'll look for more now as the remnants, the dregs of the Uprising try and scurry towards the cart, but it's just Punk right now dealing with Hanbin. Shield's going to be in his way, and the hapless Australian is desuited. It's just going to be Faith playing from the top of the tank, so there's no chance for him to touch. A Wrecking Ball 4-way on the card. Stand One is able to keep things going a little longer here, but he'll roll away. And again, Dallas have still a ton to work with. Overtime is over, and the Boston Uprising are cheated out of a potential map win by being unable to overcome this composition, right? Getting 5-player Gravitic Flux and the Deadeye being reflected. That's tough.
I tell you what, though, it's a really good opportunity for Boston to win that map with how close they were to pushing the payload over the line in that type of situation with a favorable composition. To not win that one, that is really going to sting for the Boston Uprising now. Down 0-2 in the series. It feels like all the momentum with the Dallas Fuel.
Such an interesting composition, right? The Sparkle Genji, didn't work out early on as he tried to isolate individuals, but gets the Dragon Blade, and the rest of the Fuel deal with that Immortality Field. They're able to push through and get themselves another map win. It's 2-0 for the Dallas Fuel heading into the break. The Uprising show some more signs of life. But man, they got some work to do if they want to stay competitive in this series. Might just be the one more map. Hang on, Boston Uprising fans. We'll be back with map 3 in a moment.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile. And by Xfinity, the preferred internet provider of the Overwatch League.